Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Darrell Owens, and we're back for another edition of One on One here on the LegacyMaker Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie TV. Now, we've got a lot to get into. Obviously, we've been doing our draft series. We had Jay Quimby come on last week and give his first mock. He'll be back next week to give his final mock. Of course, last year we had our man James Brown on with us. He is back with us today to give us his first round mock drafts and kind of give you fans an idea where certain players may be going. Even if your favorite team has a first round pick, unlike this guy, because my guys won't be picking the 52. But that is besides the point. He will go ahead and break down all of that, y'all, on this next episode of One on One. This is episode 202, happening next on the Legacy Maker Sports Network and on Bowie Television.
One, 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 one. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to One-on-One at LegacyMaker Sports Network.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Darrell Owens once again. I got my man James Brown with me here for episode 202 of One on One. Now, before we get into a couple of things, I want to give a real quick shout out to my guy Aaron Russell, former coach of the Richmond Spiders, who is a four-time guest here on One on One, is now the head coach of the Virginia Cavaliers women's basketball team. So another team that I really care about in the Richmond Spiders, who have broadcast games for the last couple of years or last 4 or 5 years. Now I've seen his career at Richmond blossom, and now he's heading to UVA. So shout out to Coach Russell. Hopefully we get you on for number 5, but I know how the ACC be acting. I'm just gonna throw that in there. But even with that being said, also I want to give a quick shout out, happy heavenly birthday to my guy Nick Higgs, man. Love you, brother. We still trying to act right down here, and this episode is for you. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. James, how have you been, man? How's everything going? It's good to be back on the air with you, brother.
Definitely, man. Good to be back. I'm glad the podcast juices are flowing again, man. Excited to be back. Can't wait to get into this mock draft with you and kind of see your insight and perspective on, how the draft might go down this year. It's in Pittsburgh. We got the Raiders on the clock at number 1. We might all kind of know where it's going, but can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of very interesting. This draft to me has a feel that we may only see one quarterback drafted in the first round. This draft has that vibe. There may be another that sneaks in. In most drafts, you can say, oh, even if the quarterbacks are not that good, they still kind of sneak in there. And we've seen that in the past. The last draft that was like this may have been that 22 draft when Kenny Pickett got drafted by Pittsburgh, and that was pretty much it. After that, it was just like we had to wait till Willis gets picked, and it was just so on and so on. And that's the vibe that I feel in this one, James.
Definitely, man. I feel like this is definitely a 1 QB class at the top of it. I feel like the rest of the guys that we will see eventually go throughout the weekend probably be 2, 3. And then, I think even last year we had our guys going first and early. And then after that, it was a real drop off, and it really didn't pick back up until 4th, 5th round and from there. So I feel like this class being, I guess, evaluated worse than that previous class, it might be rough for the quarterback position this year, unless some teams get quarterback happy and overvalue it, as some teams tend to do. But that's the excitement of the draft, man. That's why we love it. That's why we tune in to see what's going to happen, who's going to go where, and what leaps and bounds some teams may make.
Well, with all that being said, and that's where it's going to be so interesting. This to me feels like a big, like if you got a defensive need, this is going to be one of those drafts you could really find some defensive gems, maybe even some offensive linemen that could really help out in some places. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into it. James, we're going to start with your mock here, brother. Like, you've got a very interesting mock, a very fun mock, and we're going to start off with the number 1 pick The Vegas Raiders are on the clock, and they went with.
Do, 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 do. So, kicking things off, man, I think we all know where the Raiders are going with this one. They're going to go quarterback at the top of the draft, and they're going to take the best quarterback in this class, Fernando Mendoza, Heisman Trophy winner, national champion out of Indiana. The Raiders need a quarterback. They're playing a division where you have Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Bo Nix. They need a guy under center that can help them compete against those teams in the AFC West. Mendoza is definitely the best quarterback in this class. I'm not sure how career-wise he's going to stack up against his soon-to-be peers in the AFC West, but I do believe that if Vegas can insulate talent around him, that this could be fruits of their labor, man, and he could actually go out and produce. It'll be something like he did do at Indiana. I believe, if he can kind of be that point guard type quarterback where you don't necessarily have to rely on him to win the game, but if he can come in, manage, he may not be a game changer, but I definitely believe that he can help this team get some W's. And I definitely believe he's going to be better than anything they've had the last few seasons under center in Vegas.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting, next season, I guess you can say, for Vegas. I mean, they really went out there in the offseason, picked up some pieces. They got a little bit, definitely to me, got better on defense. And even after trading Crosby and then getting him back, it feels like they're even better because now they got Crosby back along with all of that defensive talent. So the Raiders feel different. Now, I don't know if that's going to translate on the field yet. To me, it still feels like they need pieces offensively. And, Mendoza being that first piece, getting in there to do his thing, having Kirk Cousins to come in and somehow get another guaranteed contract, even if it's for a year. But he's once again, he's been able to lock in that. But I like this move because even if you decide not to start Mendoza, if for some reason Kirk Cousins just feels like the right person to be his mentor. They seem like they have similar personalities. Hopefully they don't clash. But I love the move by Vegas by bringing in Kirk Cousins to help to mentor Mendoza.
Definitely. I mean, I believe him and Kirk not only have a similar personality, I believe they play the game similarly. In Kurt's situation, while he has the ability to take over some moments, obviously he's always been a quarterback where you would rather have him manage the game where he doesn't always have to necessarily make the big play. He's got to avoid the big turnover. And so I do believe that based upon that, like I said, the personality, mindset, ability, both to play the game and physically, I do believe Kirk can come in, kind of show Mendoza the ropes, show him, hey, here's how you study film, here's how you prepare. And since he'll actually be on board with it, unlike the situation that took place in Atlanta, maybe Kirk will be more willing to take Mendoza under his wing and, kind of show him, hey, here's how life is done in the NFL.
Yeah, if anything, I think Atlanta may have been a humbling experience for Kirk. And he knows, look, Kurt's up there in age now. And obviously he was a free agent. And if teams wanted him, they could have went and got him. And I think he's probably starting to realize now, hey, I'm at the end. If I want to keep a job, keep the money flowing in, I got to play the part right. They're not going to be hurting if Kirk Cousins has to come in because, God forbid Mendoza has an injury. I still think they're going to be okay football team. So the AFC West got a little bit more interesting with Mendoza heading there along with Kirk Cousins. At number 2, the New York Football Jets. James, a lot of people said players just don't even want to go there. But I guess somebody has to get picked there. They spoke the other day, I think it was yesterday, David Bailey was supposed to go to a top 30 visit. David Bailey said they was like, no, that's not happening. That's insane to me for somebody who is a need. And I guess it's just not happening. But you have the Jets going in another spot, a guy who also didn't seem like he liked to go to New York. But let's see, who do you have at number 2?
So the Jets is a team right now, a lot of holes on their roster. They just need an infusion of talent. And while I don't believe that this is the second best prospect, I do believe this is the type of guy that the Jets covet and will hype up. And I have them taking Arvell Reese, linebacker out of Ohio State. Again, it seems that for the Jets, they're going to project him to be like that Micah Parsons role where he maybe have played off-ball linebacker in college, but they're going to put him on the edge and have him rush the quarterback in the NFL because he has the size, because he has the speed. And a lot of teams that seems to be chasing that hybrid linebacker now that can kind of play off-ball but also rush the passer or be more of a full-time pass rusher, part-time off-ball linebacker. I feel like the Jets do that here. My only worry is that one, nobody wants to go to the Jets. I mean, Reese said it out of his own mouth. He doesn't seem to play well in New York. And then also, man, I mean, I worry, do the Jets really have the coaching staff, the capability to develop a guy like Reese? I mean, he's only been a pass rusher in college for about a season. Most of the time he played an off-ball linebacker. Do they have the people in-house to kind of develop him, bring him along, help teach him those pass rush moves that he's going to need at the next level against those elite left tackles that he's going to be facing? I mean, in his division alone, he's going to have to go up against Deion Dawkins. He's going to have to go up against the kid out of LSU for New England.
Draft pick from last year. Oh,
right. He's going to have to go up against him. We'll see if the Dolphins add a tackle. But, you know, for a guy who's still learning how to play the position, will the Jets coaching staff be able to develop him enough? It's going to be my question.
Will Campbell. There it is. It clicked
There it
after
is.
you was in the middle. Yeah, Will Campbell. Yeah. Campbell had a rough Super Bowl, but he had an all right year for the most part last year. But it's still is a guy that's developing. And as long as they keep Diane Rossini out of the building, we should be solid. We'll see if the Jets make that leap.
I mean, she resigned now, so she got free time.
She did resign.
She's got free time on her hands now.
I know there's a little bit on topic, but it was an interesting situation. And as people in the media, as soon as I heard this, I knew she was done for, one way or the other. Even though she could be innocent, she really could be innocent. In this, supposedly, they said they were just cool, they were hanging out, whatever. If that is the case, she should have known that you can't fraternize with that's one of the biggest things we ever that type of stuff outside of the relationship type of thing. You can't do that. You got to be careful. They don't want you to do autographs. They don't want you to do that. Like, you have to really be smart about the relationships you build with these players while you're out there, or coaches. And yeah. I'm
bad luck, but hopefully she rebounds from it.
That's all you can ask for. I think this may be like a year or two break before she gets back in it, and I don't think it's going to be in maybe baseball or something next time. But anyway, next at number 3, another team that has a lot of needs, including quarterback, but I don't think they're going that route. The Arizona Cardinals.
So yes, while Arizona, another team that has a lot of roster holes, I believe that they don't necessarily get the quarterback on offense, but they look for their quarterback on defense. And they take Sonny Styles, a linebacker out of Ohio State, who played alongside Reese this past season. Guy's a physical freak. I mean, 6'4", runs a 4.40, leaping out the gym. And it shows on tape and on the field, man. He's all over the place. When you watch Ohio State football, every time there seems to be a play to be made, he's there making the play, or he's there to help clean up. I believe that he can definitely be the quarterback of their defense and kind of help start to establish something in Arizona again with the new coaching staff and everything coming in. So I like Sonny Styles going to Arizona.
Yeah, it's going to be this. That's another interesting situation. Mike LaFleur, Matt's brother, new head coach down in Arizona. I thought personally that if they were going to go quarterback, Willis would have been the guy. Because if you're Arizona, you go after Willis, right? And
your brother had him. Your brother had him. Those are quirks.
Him and his brother, I would assume, have some similar thoughts on the offensive side. They come from the same system. So, like, it would have been, to me, probably almost a perfect match. But Miami, it is. He goes down there with, Miami head with a former Packer front office guy. And then, of course, head coach Jeff Hafley, who I hate that we're losing, but I'm happy that he's getting the opportunity in Miami. So Styles heading to Arizona. Next, the new look, old school, just loving it. I love it. But a lot of people are like, oh, don't look nice. No, they're gonna look clean. If you grew up in the 90s and you remember Houston Oilers, this has all the feels to it. So shout out to the Tennessee Titans for doing that. But they're on the clock at number 4. And where do you have them going?
So the new look Tennessee Titans, love the uniforms. I love that powder blue look.
Love
it gives me flashback to the Earl Campbell season, the Earl Campbell days. So while Earl Campbell was a running back that was great for the Oilers organization and looked very good in that powder blue uniform, I have the Titans taking probably the best prospect in this draft, Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame. I know a lot of people might say, hey, that may be a little bit high for a running back. Hey, in today's NFL, it's all about the passing game. Look, Love is a running back that can do it all for you. And when you have Cam Ward, we saw last year where their offense was devoid of talent. He had a few guys throughout the year late that may have developed and came on to help him out. But he needs weapons. He needs playmakers. And when you talk about playmakers in this draft class specifically, Jeremiah Love is the best definition of that. Yes, he is a running back, but he can also catch out of the backfield. I believe you can line him up in the slot. Hell, you might could even slide him out wide and run some trick plays with Tony Pollard and the other one, Tajay Spears. So Jeremiah Love, he may be listed as a running back, but he's an overall playmaker. And I believe Tennessee can take him to the next level, and he can help Cam Ward lead that offensive charge in Tennessee going forward.
Yeah, I love this move. When I first saw somebody mock this, I said, "Yeah, that sounds right." Pollock's a good back, solid back. But if you bring Love and you already if Ridley can stay healthy, out there they've got pieces. They're still working on things, but I could really see Love coming in and being a huge help to Cam Ward. Along with Tony, of course, with Tony Pollard. But there's a couple teams here I could also see Love going. New York wouldn't surprise me. It might a little bit, but it wouldn't surprise me. They kind of got a decent running back thing going on there with Scatterboo and Tracy Jr. Then the Browns could be a team I could see it happen. The Commanders actually had one of the best running teams in the league. I think they may have been number one rushing wise last year. But a lot of people in Washington were screaming for that. There's a lot of talk that there's no more Kamara in New Orleans, but they still have Etchen.
Yeah, Travis Etienne.
It's Etienne. It's Etienne to me. I don't care. He can be mad all he wants. That's what they've been calling. He let it fly for years. He's Travis Etienne, but Travis Etienne, he's there now. But if they want to go to two backs, maybe. Kansas City has Walker, so maybe not. But then again, you never know. The Bengals could definitely use him. So there's a couple teams in this top 12 here that could use him. And Miami has the other Etienne. He didn't show up to a voluntary camp today, and it's spelled completely different. So we'll see. But I love this pick right here, James, to see Jeremiah Love going to Tennessee. At number 5, the New York Football Giants on the clock.
Giants on the clock at number 5. You have John Harbaugh, who's coming in from Baltimore, trying to establish a new culture in New York. And we've seen how Harbaugh teams were led in Baltimore. It's all about ground and pound, the run game, running the football. And so I believe with Jeremiah Love being off the board, they go Francis Muaga, tackle out of Miami. He's a guy where he could be a tackle at the next level, but he could also project to being a guard. And for the Harbaughs, they love the trenches. They love line play. And so this is a guy that you can plug into your offensive line, whether he starts at guard and then kicks out to tackle, or he's a permanent guard for you. He's a guy that can help move the line of scrimmage, can help create holes in the run game, can help keep your quarterback clean in the pocket. And now with New York having Jackson Dart, you have to invest in the pieces around him. You got Malik Neighbors for him on the outside. You have a decent run game. Let's keep him clean. We saw last year he took some hits. He had some concussion issues. Let's make sure you can keep him upright, keep him clean going forward. Francis Muaga is a guy that you can plug and play from day one and get the job done.
Yeah, Dart definitely showed some moments last year. I got a chance to see him in person, and when I saw him in New York, he was fighting. He was in there. They fought hard in that game, but offensive line help is definitely a need, and I love this move here. At number 6, the Cleveland Browns, another team that can go a multitude of places.
The Browns, another team, man, where, any player they pick up wouldn't be a bad fit. I mean, they could use a guy at almost everywhere except edge rusher or pass rusher because you got the guy in Myles Garrett. But I have Cleveland going Spencer Fano, tackle out of Utah. Again, with Cleveland potentially haven't found their quarterback, whether it be the remains of Deshaun Watson, the emergence of Shedeur Sanders, you got to keep them upright, regardless of who's going to be for you under center for you this season. You got to keep them in a clean pocket. I believe Fano is a guy that can come in from day one, whether you start him on the right side or whether he takes over at left tackle, plug and play guy to help keep the pocket clean in Cleveland for whoever the quarterback's going to be this year.
Yeah, another interesting scenario. Fano definitely coming to help on that line. Who's going to be the quarterback? We know it ain't going to be Gabe.
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel. I'm throwing all my words out there, but Dylan Gabriel's not.
That shows right there that he's not going to be the guy. Nobody knows his name.
No, can't even remember my guy's name. Other than he's an Oregon, he's a short guy, and I don't hate the guy. I just look, Cleveland put that man in the worst situation possible last year by drafting Shedeur. That late. When they didn't drafting 2 quarterbacks, you should have just stuck to your gun and said, "This is where we're going." But that was a Cleveland Browns move. Even with that, now you have Deshaun and you'll have Shedeur. And that gets interesting. I mean, because look, money wise, hey, Deshaun Watson is the guy who you're paying a whole bunch of money, and you got to figure out if he's still worth the money. Then Shador is a guy who, yes, made the Pro Bowl. I don't know if it counted some out, but he did play well down the stretch for Cleveland. So, and he got him some wins when they weren't winning before he got in there. So, that's going to be a very interesting dynamic in Cleveland. At number seven, a team that the year before last was in the NFC Championship game, and then they reverted back to their old ways a little bit, going 5-12. The Washington Commanders, brand new jerseys, aka old jerseys with a little twist. Black helmet with the spears, like that, real clean. Should have made all. I don't understand why it's not on all the helmets. I don't get it, but it is what it is. Washington Commanders, where do they go at number seven?
So the Commanders should have had the spear on all the helmets, but
Yes.
since that's not happening, what they can at least do is spear the best pass rusher in this draft. With David Bailey falling down the board, I believe the Commanders snatch him up at seven and plug him in from day one on their defensive front. We saw with Washington, this is a team where when Jaden Daniels was playing, when everything's clicking, they can get to the playoffs and compete in the playoffs. Like you said, his rookie season, they were one game away from going to the Super Bowl in his rookie year. Last season, he dealt with some injuries. He was nicked up a little bit. But if you can draft David Bailey and have him start on your defense, he's a pass rusher supreme where he can come in and help that defensive front. We saw last year with Washington, edge rusher, ever since they traded away Montez Sweat, it has been an area of need. Dan Quinn loves defense. He loves his guys that can come off the edge and just annihilate the pocket, sack the quarterback. I believe David Bailey is the best pass rusher in this draft. And if he does fall to seven, I don't even know if a second goes off the clock before the cards turned in and Washington's like, we'll take Bailey.
Yeah, I mean Washington. Today in their pre-draft conference, pre-draft conference, they have kind of hinted that there's a couple of guys, that they can go with, and they feel like they're going to pick best player available is what I keep hearing from them, unless a trade or something happens. But best player available, and at this point, if you can get Bailey to go alongside Dorrance Armstrong, who was having a really good year before the injury, all things are possible in Washington. At number eight, the New Orleans Saints, a surprise team to be honest with you, because they finished they finished down the stretch stronger than I thought. And old Tyler Shuck, I I thought they'd be picking quarterback. I'm like, oh, they probably did. This man deserved the opportunity to start this season coming up. So I don't think they're going to go that route. Where do you have the Saints going at number eight?
So, due to the late emergence of Tyler Shuck last season, I believe the Saints go out and they look to put some weapons around him. I have them taking Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of Ohio State, with their pick at number eight. I mean, again, I believe that we saw the Saints offense last year. Shuck had his moments where he looked like lightning in a bottle. He had some games where I think he put up like 300 yards, a couple of touchdowns here and there. But in order to sustain that success and hopefully take it to the next level, he needs another weapon on the outside. He needs somebody opposite Chris Olave because long term, we don't know if the Saints are going to pay Olave or not. And then also from a health standpoint, Olave has dealt with some injuries throughout his career. So I believe you can add Cardinal Tate, a guy who could potentially be a wide receiver one, but at worst is your wide receiver two. I believe he can come in, help stretch the defense, also play the middle and underneath routes. And so this is a guy that you can bring in. Kellen Moore can help develop him, and he can go hand in hand with Tyler Shuck for hopefully that connection that goes forward in New Orleans.
Yeah, I like the move here. Give it an all Ohio State theme going on the outside there in New Orleans. But they're another team that just needs pieces. But they looked good towards the end of the season. They upset a lot of people last year at the end. I know the NFC South was like, "Hey man, where are you guys doing, man? Like, what are we doing here?" And they were just playing spoiler last year. That's what they did those last 4 or 5 weeks.
NFC South, man, you never know what you're going to get.
You never know. I mean, look, did we have Carolina winning it last year? No, I
I
thought it
don't
was gonna
think
be Tampa.
Carolina had Carolina win it.
I had Carolina playing. I did say in this at first episode of the pre-draft of the other. I keep saying pre-draft, but in the power rankings last year, I said there was 5 teams that I picked that I think would shock. I picked the Jets. I picked the Giants. They both disappointed me. The Giants probably should have been better what they are because they lost a lot of games when they were up by 10 and they ended up losing the game at the end. They lost like 5 games like that. And then I had the Patriots who went to the Super Bowl. I had the Panthers who made the playoffs, and then I had the Jaguars who made the playoffs. So I felt good. I'm like 3 out of the 5 did well. When I do it this year, I don't know where I'm going to go with that, but we'll see. But 3 out of 5 ain't bad. At number 9, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs. The last time they picked this high, they got old Patrick Mahomes. Where do they go at number 9?
So the Chiefs, after having a down season, I believe they benefit from the Mahomes injury in a sense where they finally get a chance at an opportunity at a top 10, top tier talent. At number 9, I believe the Kansas City Chiefs see that Ruben Bain is still on the board and they go ahead and swipe him up, bring him on out to Missouri. And so they go Ruben Bain Jr., pass rush out of Miami. The Chiefs are another team where offensively, they have quarterback. They just have to continue to add around Mahomes, maybe get him another weapon or so. I believe they can do that later in the draft, but I believe a bigger need is getting some bodies on the defensive side of the ball where a lot of their former stars are starting to age or have already departed the team. And so Spags needs some more guys that he can coach up. Ruben Bain is still on the board. I believe the Chiefs swipe him up and add him to that Spagnola defense and allow him to chase quarterbacks in the AFC West going forward.
Yeah, look, could be a good move here. There's a lot of great talent on that defensive line. With Chris Jones being there, who knows? Help bring that young man along. And it's just weird, But I got a weird feeling they're going to be back and they're going to figure it out. Even with Mahomes being injured, maybe he'll be back in time for the beginning of the season. At number 10, the Cincinnati Bengals, a team that was just miserable on defense last year.
The Bengals, their entire draft should potentially be defense. But here, number 10, I have them going with Caleb Downs, safety out of Ohio State. The Bengals are a team that's devoid of talent on the defensive side. We saw that they added Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart, hoping that that could help bolster their defense and hopefully help alleviate some of the pressure on their pass rush. We saw that didn't work, and they decided, hey, we'll double down on that and make our pass rush better by letting what's my man's name?
Trey Hendrickson.
Trey Hendrickson. They decided, hey, we'll go ahead and let him walk to Baltimore, and somehow our pass rush will get even better. But we saw the Bengals defense in the past, man. They looked great when they had a premier safety on the back end and Jesse Bates III. And so I believe they go after Caleb Downs here and plug him into that defense and hope that he can have a similar impact that Jesse Bates used to have roaming the secondary back in Cincinnati.
Well, they like I said, any defensive help is good help in Cincinnati. Just hope they don't do him like they did Stewart last year and try to give him some bogus contract. So whoever goes to Cincinnati, you make sure your agent get that straight right off the bat. At number 11, the Miami Dolphins.
At number 11, the Miami Dolphins, they brought in Jeff Hafley, defensive-minded head coach. I believe he starts making things right in Miami by taking a swing on defense, and he takes Jermod McCoy, cornerback out of Tennessee. I know a lot of people may be cautious of McCoy because he had the ACL injury that prevented him from playing this season. He missed all of it, but we've seen that he was able to rebound. He's had his pro day. He looks good physically. He still has his explosiveness, all the traits that he needs to succeed at the next level. And I believe the Dolphins take a shot here. I believe based on his physical traits, his explosiveness, the way he plays the game, that he could potentially emerge as the top cornerback in this class. The Dolphins take a swing on that, having a new regime, and they add McCoy to their secondary.
Yeah, the Dolphins seem like a team they got rid of a lot of pieces. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of retool. Chubb gone, Waddle gone. And who else is gone? There's a lot of people gone. It was somebody else that they
Achane potentially gone.
They're
talking about trading him potentially.
Tariq Hill, who's still a free agent, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Tariq Hill is still out there, which I think he ends up in Kansas City. I'm just going to throw that out there now. I think they bring him back in and try to redo it again, but we'll see how that goes as we get closer. So guys like that, they let loose. Tariq Hill, 2 seasons from, 2 years ago, Tariq Hill was killing them. Like I saw it in person. Like he gave the Dolphins, he gave the Commanders every bit he had. Yeah, he had like 300 yards that day. It was crazy. I'm like, yeah, he out here hurting folks. So you can't tell me it's not still there. Plus, he got to pay those baby mamas. A lot of kids. Things got to go his way. So we'll see if Tariq Hill get back on that. At number 12, the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas, another team, still trying to figure some things out. Had some moments last year, but they finished, I believe it was 7-9-1 on the season. Where do you have Dallas going at number 12?
So Dallas has to retool this defense. We saw last year that with all the changes, with bringing in the new head coach. Um, we saw that Brian Schottenheimer was able to come in and keep this Dallas offense going, where they were still able to pull up points. The only problem was the defense was giving them up just as quick as the offensive scored. So I have them taking Mansour Delane, cornerback out of LSU, to help bring in some defensive star power on that side of the ball. But then also with Dallas having so much money invested in offense, the only way I believe they can get better on defense is by hitting on these draft picks. So I have them taking Delane, another cornerback out of LSU, that they can come in, whether he starts day one or whether he kind of develops and works his way in throughout the season. He's a guy that they can plug on the outside to help take away a team's number one or number two threat offensively. A guy who has some good size, has good range coming out of LSU via Virginia Tech. Started off there first, go Hokies. But, I believe Delane's a guy that can come in, definitely help this Dallas defense out. You have to replace what you lost in Trayvon Diggs, Deron Bland. Hopefully he can stay healthy this year. We see that when he is healthy and available, he's a great player. And so having that 1-2 punch potentially of Bland and Delane, I feel like, that could really help Dallas's defense going forward.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. They lost a lot of key pieces on that defense. Trayvon Diggs also a free agent. We don't know where he was. He was Green Bay 2 games, and then he played like 2 snaps, and I never saw him again on the field. I don't know. I'm gonna let that one go too. But so yeah, Dallas needs some help on the defensive side if they want to try to get back in the division. The Giants look like they've gotten better. The Commanders have gotten better, at least on paper. The Eagles look like they've gotten better on paper. Dallas, and to be honest with you, made some really nice moves. Logan Wilson before the trade deadline, they brought in Quinn Win, so they're trying to figure that out as well. That division is going to be very interesting this year. I don't think it's an Eagles runaway like it's been the last couple of years where they've been the winners. It's going to be a very interesting division. All right, next we head to our second part here at number 13. New jerseys for the Rams look exactly the same, but that's besides the point. They hyped them up. We got the Ravens coming at 14 here, but they got new jerseys dropping here in the next 40 minutes, I believe. So we're gonna see if they look like something. But the Rams lied to us. Go check out our new jerseys. All they did was make the logo not have the white part. I think that's all they did. So, but anyway,
okay, so you at least figured it out. You at least figured
yeah,
out what was different. I'm looking.
that
I'm
was
like, these are the
yeah.
same jerseys. Like,
It's the
am I
same
missing something?
jerseys. It's the same jerseys, other than they changed the fade, which I'm gonna have to update this here soon. But they changed the fade of the L and the A. It's pretty much
Okay.
straight yellow now with like the blue background. It's just straight yellow. It's the same logo, but that's what they decided to do, and they hyped them up today. Talking about, look at us in our new jerseys. I'm like, y'all got the same jerseys on. Because when I saw the clip, Matt Stafford over here flexing. I think the only thing different is I think they're wearing the yellow pants like they did back in the day. And that's part of the main jersey. So all you did was really switch colors. And then I'm not gonna get into it because they made me mad. They made me mad. I'm not even gonna get into it. But at 13, you got the LA Rams. Where do you got them going at number 13?
So at 13, with that 13th overall pick that the Rams got from the Falcons last year, I have them taking Makai Lemon, wide receiver out of USC. A lot of people may be thinking, well, wide receiver, I mean, you have Puka, you have Devontae Adams, but Adams is getting older. We don't know how much longer he's going to be playing. Puka, he's had his troubles this offseason. Apparently now he's in rehab. I hope he's getting it together.
Right.
He,
the best receiver in the league.
He's got to reel it in. He's got to reel it in. He's got to get himself together. In the event that either Puka or Adams isn't available this season, I believe that the Rams can draft Lemon here, plug him into their offense, and he can be that wide receiver 3, developing wide receiver 2 that they need going forward. Matthew Stafford is getting towards the end of his career, and I believe if you're the Rams, you have to capitalize on the remaining years you have left. Get him another weapon. Lemon's a guy that can come in. He can play in the slot, but he can also help you on special teams, whether it's returning punts, returning kicks, to help flip that field position for you to give Stafford and this offense a better chance at putting up points. So I have the Rams going Makai Lemon, wide receiver from USC.
Yeah, and the Rams are going to be very interesting because they're young in a lot of places, but they're older in probably the most important places, and at receiver and at quarterback. Yes, you got Puka, but who's going to be that next guy in line? So there's a lot of questions for the Rams in the future here. They're like their window is starting to close a little bit if they're going to win the Super Bowl or get to the Super Bowl. And I picked them 2 years in a row. They screwed me. Oh my God, they screwed me last year. I just knew they were gonna make me look good. I said, "All right, Rams, here it is. Let's go." And they did. Nope. But I'm not gonna get into that neither. I'm not. And I'm not. Here's the thing. I'm not gonna pick them this year. I'm gonna do that on purpose and watch it go to the Super Bowl. And that's just how my luck works. At 14, we got the Baltimore Ravens. New head coach and Jesse Minter, former Chargers DC, comes in. Now he's the guy there. Anthony Weaver, former Dolphins DC, former Ravens player. He comes in and to become the defensive coordinator there. A lot of new things in Baltimore. Still, you guys still got one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Where do they go at 14?
So Baltimore's an interesting team because I believe they also can go a bevy of different ways just because of some needs that they have, but then also the kind of luxury they have of being great drafters, being able to fill out their roster. I believe if you are Baltimore, if you truly believe in Lamar Jackson going forward, you got to invest in that and you have to get him another weapon on the outside to go along with Zay Flowers. He needs more than tight ends. You need a guy that can dominate on the outside. And so I have them taking Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver from Arizona State. Tyson's a guy where coming into the season, he looked to potentially be wide receiver one in this class. He's dealt with some injuries this year. I believe even in the offseason, he had a hamstring issue that's kind of kept him held back from being able to work out, being able to perform. I believe he does have a workout scheduled here, I believe Friday, maybe tomorrow, or maybe early next week to kind of show that that hamstring is healing up. He is good to go. If he can prove that, I believe if you're Baltimore, you draft him and you add him into your offense because, again, on the outside, you have Zay Flowers, who at his best is a good to great talent. And then opposite him, you have Rashard Bateman, who I believe at his best is a good receiver. And if you truly believe in Lamar Jackson, you need to get him an elite weapon on the outside. And when healthy, I believe Tyson can be that guy for you in Baltimore. And so that's why I have the Baltimore Ravens taking Jordan Tyson at 14.
Yeah, I like this pick. I think they got three major needs mentally, right off the top anyway. I think receivers one. Tight end, yes and no. I feel like you can go tight end a little bit later because Mark Andrews is getting a little bit older, but that's something you may have to address. You lose Kohler to the Chargers, so you got to look at those two things. But offensive line is huge too, and I think that if they don't go receiver here, in my mind, I think offensive line is where they go. They could go D line too, but I think it's receiver, O line, maybe D line, and then I would say probably the tight end position. But we'll see how they go there. At 15, one of the players that you the team that you can't get my words out. The player that you have going to the Buccaneers was a team was a player that the Ravens were really looking at. Who do you have at 15? I couldn't get my words out. I knew I was trying to figure out what it was going to say, but whatever. Y'all knew what I meant. Shoot.
Definitely. Again, the guy I have going at 15 is a guy that Baltimore could be looking at because, again, they could use offensive help, but based on the interior. And this is a guy that I ain't even going to try to pronounce his name, but offensive guard from Penn State, man. I believe that if you're the Bucs, you also have to capitalize on your quarterback situation. And we see when Baker Mayfield is healthy, he is one of the top quarterbacks in this league. He may not be top 5, but he's definitely top 10. Maybe borderline top 5 when he's at his best and when he's healthy. We saw it in Cleveland when he starts to get nicked up, when he starts to get injured, his play falls off, the team falls off. Last year in Tampa Bay, he started dealing with injuries, and that kind of derailed the Bucs' whole season. The injuries to Baker, the injuries to Mike Evans. So I have them taking an offensive guard here out of Penn State to build that offensive lineup, help keep Baker clean in the pocket so that he can continue to sling the rock around in Tampa Bay and continue to help the Bucs win playoff games because they're usually there. They're right there on the edge of it almost every season. And last year, I believe the injuries truly held them back. So they upgrade the offensive line here and help keep Baker upright.
Now I don't know. We're gonna see if Google Translate can help us with his name. There you go. So we're gonna go with that. Maybe Google Translate got it for us, but a very talented guard out of Penn State. At number 16, their second pick here in this first round, the New York Football Jets. Where do you have them going?
So the Jets, again, a lot of people believe this could be where we see Ty Simpson potentially go. I still think it's a little bit too high for that. If I'm the Jets, I do want to build around the quarterback position. And again, I have them taking Kenyon Sadiq here, tight end out of Oregon. And while he's listed as a tight end, I think he's just a pass catcher. You could potentially play him outside. You can play him in the slot. You can play him offline at tight end. He's a guy that with the ball in his hand, he makes plays. He creates a lot. We saw him hurdling defenders last year in the bowl game for Oregon. Like he's an athletic freak at the tight end position. He's a guy that you can bring in and he can play opposite Garrett Wilson. We saw that the Jets, they need help, or Wilson needs a guy on the opposite side that defenses have to worry about. I believe Sadiq can be that guy they can bring in to help not only Garrett Wilson, but potentially whoever's going to be under center for them. He's a playmaker. He's something that this offense truly needs. And if you have those two weapons on the outside, or you have those two weapons you have to worry about in the passing game, that'll just open up things in the run game for Brees Hall even more. So if you're the Jets, you have to build up this roster. You have to find playmakers. Here at 16, I have them taking Kenyon Sadiq. And honestly, Sadiq is a guy that potentially Baltimore could be targeting as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like in this range, it's a good spot for him. For here, this mock draft, I have him going to the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of people in this mix that I could definitely see going that route. But we'll see if the Jets make that selection in just a week or so. At number 17, a team that probably disappointed a lot last year. I mean, a lot of people were blown away that they probably had the season that they had because the talent was still there. And that's the Detroit Lions at 17. Where do you have them going?
So the Detroit Lions, the team last year that did disappoint. Detroit's been a team that's been on the precipice of getting to that Super Bowl the last couple seasons here. I have them taking Monroe Freeland, offensive tackle out of Georgia. You released Taylor Decker this past season. He was your left tackle in Detroit. I feel like you have to replace that because we know Jared Goff is not the most mobile quarterback. In order to be able to keep him upright so that he can get the ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown and JMO and all the other guys they have in Detroit, you have to keep the pocket clean. You have to give him the ability and the space to throw the ball. And so I have them taking Monroe Freeland, tackle out of Georgia.
All right, so yeah, that gives him a little bit of boost on that line. Jared Goff, who's had all world seasons the last couple of years and he was top three in passing yards this past season. So he's still a very valuable piece. He's been to the Super Bowl. He's taken this team to the NFC Championship game. There's still talent there in Detroit. We've all seen that when teams lose coordinators, things change. That's what happened here. They lost two coordinators. They lost they lost Ben Johnson to the Bears. They lose Glenn to the Jets. They may get him back at the way the things are going with the Jets. I ain't even trying to be mean. That may be the way it ends up happening. I want Aaron Glenn to succeed so bad, but I feel like he's gonna get done dirty. And it is what it is. But we shall see. At 18, the Minnesota Vikings, who was one of the hottest teams that last month of the season, when I had a chance to go up to Minnesota to watch them take on the Commanders, they were 4-8, and they finished the season 9-8. They were undefeated in December. They just looked great the rest of the way and got some big time wins. What do you have them going at 18?
At 18, I have the Minnesota Vikings taking another defensive back. We know they love their defensive backs in the Minnesota. I have them taking Dylan Thieneman, safety out of Oregon. I believe Thieneman's a guy that can come in and be that instant replacement for Harrison Smith when he decides to finally hang him up. Until then, you could play both of them in the back end on safety. Again, Minnesota's a team where they have been near that edge of making the playoffs or being a wild card team. They bring in Kyler Murray. They still have Jettas on offense. You have Jordan Addison still. If you can bring in a playmaker on defense, a guy that can help get the ball back to the offense, which I believe Thieneman can be, that can really help their team going forward and compete in an NFC North that has a lot of great offensive talent now.
It's crazy. It's crazy how talented they are in the North, and bringing Kyler Murray in just makes everything like. I would have picked Minnesota to win the division last year if Sam Darnold was still there. That's who I wanted to pick. But once he wasn't there, and I was just like, I don't know how I feel about McCarthy. That's why I went them going last, and then they ended up finishing, I believe, second. So it wasn't too bad. I mean, they were tied with the Lions for second. But this team, I know they had to be sick of this summer to see Sam Darnold go win the Super Bowl. I mean, because everybody, I remember saying, "Hey, you can't let him go. That you cannot let him go. I mean, you did this with Case Keenum. They get to the NFC Championship game and you let him go, and yeah, they bring in Kurt, but he only gets one playoff win after that. So you ruined chemistry, and they had to rebuild it. They've done it again. They let Donald go, and you saw there was chemistry. They were 14-3. Had a great defense to go along with somebody who knew how to run the offense. What happens the next year? He goes 14-3 with the Seahawks. They Super Bowl champions. They got to be sick to their stomachs. Never won a Super Bowl, 0-4 in the Super Bowl, and you can't get it done. Whew. I mean, it made me smile. But that's besides the point. If you're a Vikings fan, you got to be sick to your stomach. You just got to be. It's crazy, James. Crazy. At number 19, we got the Carolina Panthers, a team that surprised a lot and made it to the playoffs last year, won the division. Still kind of a shock by that. Where do you see the Panthers going at 19?
At 19, I believe the Panthers try to capitalize on what they saw out of Bryce Young last season. We saw they went out, they got Darrell McMillan for him, number one wide receiver threat. I believe they try to add on to that and draft KC Concepcion, wide receiver from Texas A&M, a guy who probably starting out, maybe he plays a little bit more special teams, punt returns, kick returns, but the guy's a burner. He can definitely stretch the field. He's got blazing speed. He has somewhat of a drops issue at times, but if he can put it all together, I believe he's a guy that can come in to Carolina and definitely take over the wide receiver 2 position for them and kind of help out where Tedoroy McMillan may be lacking the underneath game or that mid game. I believe that Casey Concepcion can come in and help the Panthers with that. And again, at this point, they have to see if they're going to extend Bryce Young going forward. And so getting them another weapon, giving them the opportunity to kind of spread the ball around a little bit more and see if he can truly put up those same performances that he had last season and see if he will be the guy in Carolina going forward.
Yeah, this is a big year for Carolina because now you're going to get a first place schedule. So that changes things a little bit. You're going to get a first place schedule. You're going to see those first place teams. So now I'm interested if Carolina can keep things rolling. Canales has done a really good job there. Obviously, since they benched Bryce Young from that time up until now, he has done nothing but improve, which is good to see, which is crazy because our man CJ Stroud has done nothing but, at least it feels like he's regressed since that amazing rookie year. So those two will always be compared to each other.
Bryce Young might be a
no, go ahead.
monster that took. I said Bryce Young might be like the little monsters before they transform, and he
Yeah.
took CJ Stroud's talent, and now he's got it. And Stroud's just sitting there like, well,
He's
what
like, yo,
happened?
man, where's my time? He like Charles Barkley when Charles Barkley was trying to
Right.
go play basketball with the girl and he blocked the shot. That's what's happening right now. Now, hopefully they figure it out. But yet, we saying all this about Stroud, but they've made the playoffs every year he's been there, and they've been in the divisional round every year he's been there. They just haven't
And
been
they've
able to get
been
over the hump.
bounced every year he's
Every
been
year
there.
he's been there. They have not been able to get over that hump to get to the AFC Championship game, but they will at least make the playoffs, and they will at least keep butts in seats there in Houston for now. At number 20, their second pick of this first round, the Dallas Cowboys.
The Cowboys are back. Second pick in the first round, and they're back to drafting defense again. I have them taking Keldrick Faulk, pass rusher out of Auburn. This is a kid where he has the measurables. It's just about putting it together at the next level and seeing, how his skills translate, seeing what type of pass rusher he can be. This is a guy at Auburn who was projected to be all SEC, 10 plus sacks a season. I don't think he quite got there yet at Auburn. I believe that he's still a diamond in the rough. And if you're Dallas, you can quick add him into your defense. You still have guys, Quentin Williams, a lot of defensive guys who can kind of teach him the ropes and show him, hey, here's how you can get it done. And I believe due to his frame, he could be a little bit of a tweener. He's a guy that could potentially play inside as well as outside, rushing the passer. So I believe he's a piece that Dallas needs that they can plug into their defense and kind of help that rotation go up front so that they can improve their defense in Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas is, Lawrence, we talked earlier, they just got to find a way to get that defense clicking. Their offense is still their offense. Javonte Williams, great year last year. Pickens, great year last year. You still got CD, you got Dak. Ferguson is a fantasy monster at times. So they've got pieces. Offensively, they're fine. It's that defense that has to get fixed in Dallas. At 21, the team that's still trying to figure out who their quarterback is going to be this year. Mike McCarthy being the new head coach there in Pittsburgh. Shout out to Mike McCarthy for being able to say he coached the Dallas Cowboys the Green Bay Packers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not only three of the greatest franchises in the NFL history, none of these teams have less than 4 Super Bowls, and he's coached them all. So shout out to Mike McCarthy, at least for that. With that being said, where does Pittsburgh go at number 21?
So Pittsburgh, host city, like you said, this is a team where they need to figure out who's going to play quarterback for them this season. They have some aging defenders on the defensive side of the ball. They have some wide receiving threats, some offensive pieces where they need a reliable quarterback for the future going forward. While I don't think Pittsburgh goes quarterback here, I believe they look to start to replace some of those aging pieces on defense, taking Akeem Messidor, pass rusher out of Miami. Now, Messidor is an older prospect. I believe he's 25 years old. So while he is a little further along age-wise, I believe due to that, he'll be able to come in, learn from TJ Watt, learn from Cam Hayward and a lot of those defensive guys that they have in Pittsburgh and kind of help keep pushing it going forward. TJ Watt is getting a little older. I think he's going to be 30 or potentially 31 this upcoming season.
That feels
Hayward's
crazy.
Getting up there. Right. I mean, this is a guy that we've seen from.
Like he just drafted.
We remember him getting drafted, and now he's in his 30s and going forward. I mean, Cam Hayward's like, 34, 35? So, again, Pittsburgh, what they're known for is defense and running the football, and a lot of their defensive pieces, their defensive stars are starting to age and get older. And so I believe they look to reset the clock here and kind of help those guys out, help maybe lengthen some of their careers, and taking Akeem Messidor, the pass rusher out of Miami.
Yeah, look, last year, Pittsburgh had the most expensive defense in football. It did get them into the playoffs. It wasn't the greatest, and they got whomped in the playoffs, but they did get them into the playoffs with the most expensive defense. And, technically going younger here, but maybe not going so young. We have seen
half decade younger.
We have seen some of these younger I guess younger, older talents like Jaden Daniels or the Bo Nix come right in and do really good things because I think just because they're a little bit more seasoned than these guys. So we've seen that be a really decent trend here the last couple of years.
Definitely. I mean, that's the way college football is trending. I think we're just going to start seeing that in all of college athletics with NIL and a lot of guys being able to make money in college now, more money than they potentially make in the NFL as these later round picks. Guys are going to opt to go back to school. They're going to opt to go back, make their money, but also get more experience, and then hopefully parlay that into a higher draft stock or higher draft positioning in the NFL so that their rookie contract can be just as big or similar to the money they were making in college.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it's one of those things now that we see it in, and I know there's a little bit of a jump, or maybe not. We see it in the WNBA/women's college basketball. Women's college basketball has taken such a leap, and I would even argue is at times more entertaining than the men's game at times. I mean, not all the time, but they're competing at a level now that I think that it's almost fair. Like we talked about pre-show, I know more WNBA draft picks than I know the NBA draft picks. So it's that type of mentality that could eventually be the way there. At 22, the Chargers made the playoffs last year under Jim Harbaugh. Still looking to make some things happen. Where do you have them going at 22?
So next Harbaugh brothers on the clock. And again, as we said earlier, the Harbaughs, they love the line of scrimmage. They love line play. I have Jim, the younger brother, going on the opposite side of the line and taking Caden McDonald, defensive tackle out of Ohio State. Again, this is a guy that can come into the Chargers organization, be a part of the rotation, or start from day one and really help control the running lanes in LA. Again, you have Justin Herbert on the offensive side of the ball. You're building that offense up. Go ahead, add a defensive piece in. You have Khalil Mack, who is getting older. You do need to find a replacement ever since you let Joey Bosa go. I believe, they may have drafted some guys here last year, a couple years before that maybe started to develop into those pieces. McDonald is a guy that you can plug in at nose tackle, and we see he moves offensive linemen around. They don't move him typically. He's always finding his way into the backfield to stuff runs, potentially adding some juice there as a pass rusher for you. The Harbaughs are all about line play, and I believe Jim follows that trend here again and takes Caden McDonald on the defensive side. I mean, we saw him do it with Joe Alt, where they could have went offensive weapon. And he said, well, hey, I view athletic offensive and defensive linemen as weapons. I believe Harbaugh gets that type of weapon here with McDonald at 22.
Yeah, I look what we've seen from the Chargers in the Harbaugh era has been, some growth. I still think there's some pieces on offense that they can kind of, they brought Keenan Allen back last year, and they've got, they went and drafted Hampton, so they're growing offensively. They still got Herbert, so I agree with you. Trying to make that defensive line back, get it back to where it was under Joey Bosa will be important. Hey, Joey Bosa's still out there, but he doesn't want to go to sanctuary cities. He doesn't want to play for a team that has sanctuary cities. I think the only choice he might be there might be Green Bay because all these other all these other cities are like cities. I don't know if I want him there now. I mean, I'll take him, I guess, but yeah, he don't want to go to a sanctuary city. But that's another topic for another day. I don't want to go to a sanctuary city. Okay, sir. At 23, we got the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, you got them adding another piece, which would be interesting. They just kind of added a piece, which your boy is not thrilled about, but it happened. Where do you have the Eagles going at 23?
So I have the Eagles taking Omar Cooper, wide receiver out of Indiana. And again, Philly could go a multitude of ways with this pick. I believe that they could look to add a receiver since I do believe that a trade for A.J. Brown is coming or already done. They're just waiting to announce it. Could be post June 1. So I think Philly could either add another wide receiver in Cooper Jr., or they could look to upgrade their aging offensive line by finding a replacement for Lane Johnson or maybe upgrading the guard or center positions. But in this draft, I haven't taken Cooper. Cooper's a guy where we saw this year at Indiana, he made some flashes. He had some plays. I think back to that game against Penn State where down the stretch, it was Cooper and Mendoza leading the charge. And ultimately, Cooper had the toe tap touchdown in the end zone that came back and won that game for Indiana. So I believe if you add him to what you have in Philly, he can pair with Devontae Smith, and then we'll see if either Hollywood or Dontavian Wicks takes that number 3 spot. Again, I know a lot of people may think this makes Philly wide receiver heavy, but truly I believe that that move for A.J. Brown is coming. And so knowing that, Howie looks to replace what he may be losing in A.J. with Cooper.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you with this. So yeah, I mean, people may look and be like, well, why would another receiver? But Brown could be out the door. I think Dotson might be a free agent as well. And I don't know if they're
Nah,
planning on
Dotson's
bringing
in
him.
Atlanta.
He's in Atlanta. That's where it was. So Dotson went to Atlanta. So now you're looking at where they're trying to rebuild the receiver room a little bit. And believe me, sick to my stomach when I saw that Wicks was gone. I was like, I mean, look, but to get a 5th and a 7th for him, I guess, because Wicks himself was a 5th round pick. So, you can get some joy in knowing that you turned a 5th round pick into 2 more picks, but that's not. I ain't gonna get upset about it. We're gonna let that fly. But Philly's doing the right thing here. And once again, it seems like Roseman's finding a way to kind of rebuild this thing. Stephon Diggs is going to be out there, but I don't think nobody signs Diggs until after they find out he's a free man, which is probably a good move. They got to make sure that he's not getting locked up, and all that good stuff. So I guess we'll see there. At 24, we got the Cleveland Browns with their 2nd pick.
So, yes, the Browns are back. And no, you're not seeing things. I have them taking another offensive lineman, offensive tackle, Caden Proctor out of
Protect that
Alabama.
quarterback.
Again,
Protect
like we
that
said, if
quarterback.
you're in Cleveland, the downfall and detriment of the Browns for like the last 20, 30 years has been they don't have a quarterback. Outside of the short run they had with Baker Mayfield, the Browns have never had a quarterback. I believe part of that is due to the fact they haven't been able to scout or draft one, but then also they haven't been able to build around that position a lot. Again, I know it's not the sexy pick. I know it's not the best thing that a lot of fans would like to do with having 2 first-round picks. But if you can solidify your offensive tackles for the next 5+ seasons due to these rookie contracts, you can really build a lot offensively and build this Cleveland Browns team into a franchise that can compete in the AFC North and in the AFC and give a guy Myles Garrett some hope going forward that, hey, I'm just not out here for nothing. I'm just not out here getting cardio every Sunday. So I do have the
Yeah.
Browns taking Caden Proctor. And again, he's an athletic freak at the tackle spot. I mean, we saw games at Alabama where they're running screens for him and he's ahead of some of the receivers getting down the field. He's an athletic freak, tall, 6'7", can run like the wind. And if you put that at offensive tackle, facing some of the pass rushers that we're seeing nowadays, where they are built upon speed, Proctor's a guy that theoretically will be able to hold up against that. And so if you have those two bookend tackles in Proctor and in Fano going forward, like we said, whoever it is under center, they stand a chance now in Cleveland with being able to actually get the ball to these receivers, being able to help these running backs. We saw that, they lost Wyatt Teller, a premier guard this past season. I think he's in Houston now. So even if Proctor has to come in and start at guard and kick his way out to tackle, he's a guy that can definitely upgrade your offensive line and help whoever it is under center and whoever's in the backfield this year for the Browns going forward.
Hey, it's that simple, Cleveland. Just go out there and build that thing. It's like and I love the idea of getting two solid, offensive line positions and trying to build that up over the next couple of years. And look, Todd Monken, go call Joe Thomas, the future Hall of Famer, and say, hey, look, man, is he in the Hall of Fame already? He might be. No. I don't know if he's in it yet.
I
He
don't think
might
he's
be
there
already.
yet.
He's
He
close to
should
it.
be, though.
If he's not in now, and I probably should know this, but if he's not in now, the future Hall of Famer, when he does get in, go get this man to teach this team. Teach those young guards the dream. It's the only right thing to do. Now we head to our last 8 picks. Number 25, a team that shout out to them. I mean, they did what they needed to do. They won the division last year. The Chicago Bears, go in, win the division, to beat the Packers, in the playoffs in the first round. They had, who did they play in that next matchup? The Rams. They had the Rams in that matchup. That was a crazy game. We saw Caleb the Iceman throw that off the back foot pass, and then they end up losing in overtime on a field goal to the Rams. So what are your thoughts at 25? Where do the NFC North champions go?
So I believe the Bears go defense here. We saw last season that offensively, adding Ben Johnson, they was able to pick things up. Caleb Williams started to look like the Heisman Trophy winner that he was at USC. They have pieces on offense for him with Roma Dunze. The offensive side seems to be set, or at least trending in that direction. I believe the Bears look to add to their wars that defense. Again, we saw that they lost a guy like Tremaine Edmonds. They lost some more talent on the defense, but they've added some players in free agency. I believe they look to go get a bookend tackle. Defensive pass rusher to pair with Montez Sweat, a guy who may be coming up on a new contract soon. Maybe the Bears want to re-sign him. Maybe they want to let him walk. They add T.J. Parker, the edge out of Clemson, a guy who, again, physically has the traits. He just has to develop it a little bit at the next level. Again, Clemson had a down year this season just across the board, and I feel like that's impacted a lot of their guys and a lot of their draft stock. But I believe Parker is a guy that he comes into the right system. You coach him up, you can turn him loose, and he can help this Bears defense get back to being the monsters of the Midway.
All right, at 26, you got the Buffalo Bills. Some changes there. Brand new stadium. They're going to have a brand new stadium this year. Seen some pictures of it from the out. It's still going to be an outdoor stadium. I guess they still want the snow in there, so no retractable roofs up there in Buffalo. They say you're gonna come up here, it's gonna be cold, and you're gonna like it. How do you see Buffalo going in at 26?
So the Bills, they have their quarterback on offense. They got him a weapon and trading for DJ Moore. I think they look to get their quarterback of the defense and they take CJ Allen out of Georgia, the second best linebacker in this class. And then they plug him right into the middle of their defense from day one and kind of let him cope, kind of let him work that thing out. I believe Allen's the guy that we've seen at Georgia. He's the star of their defense this past season. He's the leader on that defense. If you are the Bills, you need a guy that can come in on defense, rally the troops, kind of get them playing at their top level like Allen does on the offensive side. And so quarterback on offense, Allen, quarterback on defense, CJ Allen, Allen and Allen. I believe that's the way Buffalo goes. And I think, honestly, that may help with getting them over the hump. We've seen the Bills have always been on the precipice of, making that playoff push to potentially get to that Super Bowl. The NFL, they changed the rules for Allen. They got him those overtime rules to help get him to the next level. He hasn't done it yet. Maybe getting his running partner on defense and CJ Allen helps get them there. And so we'll see what the Bills can do this season.
I love the Allen and Allen reference. And for those who are listening to this and like Allen and Allen, hey, if you're from Richmond, about Allen, 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 and Allen. When we were kids, it was just Allen and Allen. Then they threw two more Allens on there. So it's Allen, 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 and Allen, the law firm here in the Richmond area. So shout out to Allen, 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 and Allen. And if y'all want to go ahead and sponsor, by all means. So it'll be Buffalo is going to be very interesting. Maybe if now that he's a father, maybe all of that stuff kicks in, and this is the year. Who knows? At 27, we got a team that surprised me last year. I had them going 7-10. I just wasn't confident in what they had receiver wise. I wasn't confident in a lot of things. I thought they were going to be injury prone, which they were, but they proved me wrong. They won 11 games. I don't know. I think they were 12-5 or 11-6. They made the playoffs, get beat up by the Seahawks. Talking about the San Francisco 49ers. Where do you see them going at 27?
At 27, I have the 49ers taking Blake Miller, offensive tackle out of Clemson. Trent Williams is getting up there in age, man. I think my guy's gonna be 40 this season potentially.
Yeah, he's up there. Yeah.
He's up there, and whether he retires or whether his deal runs out, because I do believe he's towards the end of his contract, the 49ers have got to start thinking about the future, got to start thinking about his replacement. I believe Blake Miller is a guy that they can bring in. He can learn under Williams, and maybe he starts off at right tackle, and then when Williams does retire, he kicks over to left tackle. But this is the forward-thinking move for San Francisco going forward to help keep their offensive line intact. Honestly, outside of Williams, their offensive line is pretty ragtag team of guys they've thrown together. They do need some infusion of talent there because, again, we know Brock Purdy isn't the biggest guy. And in order to keep that offense going, in order to keep McCaffrey clean, you have to be able to block. You have to be able to create running lanes for him. And I believe Miller is a guy that can come in, learn from Trent Williams, and help make that a thing in San Francisco going forward.
I've said a lot of times I feel like Kyle Shanahan is the best coach in the league because even though maybe he doesn't have the Super Bowl, man, when I'm telling, no matter what the situation is, your team falling apart at all costs, they find ways to win. I mean, Purdy goes down, Mac Jones comes in there, does a great job, great enough of a job that people thought he was going to get maybe get traded this all season and lock in and be a starter on another team, which he probably could start on another team. Then maybe he becomes the Sam Darnold, and he goes to San Francisco, sits most of the time, and pops back out and goes to a place and does great things. Maybe that's Mac Jones, Mac Jones. And then, you see the receivers, this is gonna sound bad. Persol has not been the same since he got shot. And so he just can't stay healthy. They had
Juwan Jennings is gone.
He's a free agent. He couldn't stay healthy. Ayuk said, I ain't coming back.
We still don't know what's going on there.
We still don't know what's going on. They've been saying he's going to be a commander for months. I don't know if that's happening, but he's going to be out there. We can't talk about a guy who's really talented, and I don't know if it's whatever's going on with him. It's way more than what we know, and I don't think they've given all the information. And so when you see all that stuff, and you still make the playoffs and win games in very impressive fashion, you got to give a shout out to him. So it's hard for me to say anything bad about Kyle Shanahan. Yes, I know you can. I know there's a lot you can say about Kyle Shanahan, James. You can probably throw some stones at that man, and I would get it. But
he played a part in it.
Yeah, he played a part in it. It's all his fault.
He played a part in it.
Yeah, it's all his fault. We all know. We're not going to get into that. There's bad memories. At number 28, the Houston Texans.
So the Houston Texans, again, this is another team where they've always been in the mix. They've been competing in the division, but they're also been in the mix for playoff spots and making playoff pushes. I believe in order to help get them along, they go Emmanuel Pregnon, offensive guard out of Oregon, because, again, we've seen with Houston, their offensive line is a developing group. They've tried throwing picks and pieces at this over the past decade or so to kind of help build it up. And it hasn't all quite come together yet, but I believe they found some pieces last year and taken Ariante Ursary, tackle out of Minnesota last year. They give him a running mate on his side to help keep C.J. Stroud clean in the pocket, and they take Emmanuel Pregnon out of Oregon. And again, at this point, you have to figure out if C.J. Stroud's going to be the rookie version that we saw that could lead your team and get you to the playoffs and actually play well, or if he's going to continue to regress to this latest version we've seen. I believe if you invest in that offensive line, that helps him maybe get some of that confidence back, maybe help him develop his game a little bit more. And we see if he continues or if he goes back to taking that next step into being one of
Yeah.
those thought of as elite quarterbacks or up and coming quarterbacks in the NFL.
Well, everybody thought it. I mean, we thought like year two he's going to cook. Obviously, they made the playoffs, but we saw and they did
It
have a
just
little
wasn't
bit
the
of
same.
regression. Yeah, it was a little bit of regression the second year. This last year, it was hard to watch at times. He got hurt. Davis Mills come in and they still were able to do some things with Davis Mills, who's probably a guy who could probably got shafted in all of this because he didn't play bad when he was starting. He just didn't have people, and he didn't have D'Amico Ryans at the time. So it's almost like, hey, but with watching that performance in the playoff last year was hard to watch. I know we talked about it in our group chat, and it was hard to watch. Like I'd say that you got to take the man out because at this point it's a confidence booster. Like his confidence looked like it was being destroyed every time. Some of it was his fault, some of it wasn't. It was just hard to watch. So hopefully they'll figure it out in Houston, man. Hope they'll figure it out in Houston. At 29, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now I forgot who they got this pick from.
Trading Trent McDuffie to
Yeah, to the
the
Rams. And so
Rams.
yeah, this is the Rams pick at 29. Where do you see the former Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs going at 29?
So again, the Chiefs got this pick because they traded away a DB and Trent McDuffie. I believe they add a DB here in Emmanuel McNeil Warren, safety out of Toledo. And again, this is a piece where you just giving Spags another body on defense that can potentially be a playmaker and help get the ball back to Mahomes in that offense. We saw McNeil Warren this past season. He's a defender where he plays all over at all three levels. He can make plays at all three levels. And again, you're just giving Spags another guy that can come in and make plays for this defense. We've seen what he's been able to do with developing DBs. I mean, we saw it with Marcus Peters. We saw it with McDuffie. Spags, for whatever reason, is able to just develop defensive backs at the next level, finding guys at these smaller schools or finding guys at these little known schools that you wouldn't think twice about. They go to Kansas City, Spags develops them, and you're just like, man, how did everybody miss on this guy? How did everybody pass on this guy? And so I think McNeil Warren is another guy that they look to add to their defense and keep the ball rolling in Kansas City.
Yeah, the defensive backfield was something they definitely needed some improvement in after trading Duffy away, but they felt confident enough that they could do that. I guess with these two picks in the draft, it's going to be very interesting where they kind of figure everything out there. Real quick, everybody, for those watching, the Ravens have dropped their new uniforms, and guess what? They look exactly the same.
Get out of
There's
here.
it's close. The purple and the gold jerseys from last year, which I really like, by the way. Those purple and gold jerseys were really nice. The white jerseys are pretty much the same with the purple pants. The only difference is the outline is black in the numbers. The white jerseys are the same. I mean, the purple jerseys are the same way. White pants, number, same dream, white, but the black outline. To me, that's the only difference. And then they have a all black jersey, and the helmets are matted. That's the only thing that I can see differently. And it looks like the Raven has red eyes, like a dark red eye on there. So I'm gonna go back and like check that out at some point. But yeah, that's what's going on there in Baltimore. Just wanted to throw that in there real quick. At number 30, the Miami Dolphins with their second pick.
So the Dolphins, they got this pick from the Broncos for trading away Jalen Waddle, and I believe they add a Waddle replacement and getting Denzel Boston, wide receiver out of Washington. Again, different play style from Waddle, more of a bigger body receiver, not as twitchy, not as fast as Waddle is. But if you're going to invest in Malik Willis in Miami, you got to have somebody for him to catch passes. We
Somebody.
saw that they let Tyreek Hill go. They released him. You trade Jalen Waddle. And it's like, well, man, you just paid Malik Willis a good amount of money. If you really want to invest and see what he's going to be able to do, he needs weapons or guys to throw the ball to. And potentially you're discussing trading Devon Achane. So he needs offensive pieces. He needs an offensive weapon. I believe Denzel Boston at this point is the best option for them. And so they look to go Denzel Boston, wide receiver, to help Malik Willis and help reestablish this passing connection in Miami.
Yeah, you brought up a good point about Willis' situation. I don't I'm glad he's starting. He deserved it. He played well in those games that he had to come in Green Bay, minus the Chicago game that they ended up losing. All the other games that he was in, they won those games. The games that he started, they won those games, and he played well in every one. Every time he had to come in for love, for relief, he played well. As a Packers enthusiast, as I like to call myself, I've seen times where I was like, "Oh, well, Love's not in the game, but we still got Willis." That's how confident I was in Willis. He's gonna go to Miami with no weapons, and it's insane to me. And it didn't feel like they did anything to like help him get any weapons. So getting a Denzel Boston here is definitely a need. Like definitely a need. I don't know what else they can do. Maybe they sign a Stephon Diggs or whoever else is out there. Hopkins is that they got a lot of maybe like 5 years ago talent receivers out there that you'd be like, man, that'd been cool to have on my team 5 years ago, guys out there. So we'll see about that. At number 31, the defending AFC champions, head coach by Mike Vrabel. Where do you have the AFC champions going with their pick?
I mean, I feel like this one is pretty clear. I mean, we saw it in the Super Bowl. They were not able to hold up against that Seattle pass rush. I
It's
mean,
rough.
Drake May looked uncomfortable the entire game. I believe the pressure got to him. And so I have the Patriots going with Caleb Lomu, the other offensive tackle out of Utah. I believe he can come in and take over at right tackle for Morgan Moses, or at least, maybe sit behind Moses for a season, learn the offense and keep going. Or do they potentially switch Lomu with Campbell and maybe kick Campbell in the guard or kick Campbell to right tackle because he struggled as well in the Super Bowl game. I do know he was a rookie. He's still learning at the NFL level, but depending on how the Patriots view their roster, Lomu could be a guy where he either helps Campbell by kicking him in the guard, or you have Campbell and Lomu as your tackles going forward and kind of help insulate Drake May, and so he can continue to grow and develop as a quarterback and as a passer. But they have to do something to the offensive line. I mean, we saw it the whole time, the whole game of the Super Bowl. He
Yeah.
was just, May was never able to get comfortable. He was never able to settle in, and for an experienced play caller in McDaniels to not be able to draw up anything to help calm down his quarterback, help get them in the game. To me, it seems like that's a personnel issue, and that's a real issue on the offensive front.
Yeah, it was hard to watch. I mean, if you're a person that just hates the Patriots just because of the Patriots, if you're just a football lover, you're like, man, this poor guy is just there's nothing he can do. There was nothing. That Seattle defense was nasty. Shout out to Mike McDonald and what he's been able to do in Seattle. A lot of people made fun of him. I know we're segueing into the 32nd pick, but we saw a lot of people trash Mike McDonald when he first got to Seattle because he took all of the old, hey, we're the champions of this. He took all that down and he said we need to build our own. And guess what he did? Within two
He
years,
built it.
he built his own, and now they have their second Super Bowl championship. And it's because of Mike McDonald and amazing defense, and of course the players Sam Darnold and Kenneth Walker. So they were just a complete team last year. And with all that being said, the Super Bowl champions are on the clock at 32. How do they get better?
At 32, I have the champs taking Cassius Howell, pass rusher out of Texas A&M. Again, we saw in the offseason that Seattle lost a few different guys on defense to other teams in free agency. We know that they lost the Super Bowl MVP and Kenneth Walker. I believe they look to find his replacement a little later in the draft. But at 32, I have them taking a pass rusher, Howell out of Texas A&M, who again is a guy who's more slight of frame, but very fast, quick guy coming off the edge. And at this point, it's all about rebuilding that defensive line room, rebuilding that pass rush room. And so with a guy like McDonald, we know he's able to develop defensive players. And so I have them taking Cassius Howell here. We know offensively they seem to be set at quarterback. You got JSN. You've started to pay these guys their money. So now you have to start filling the holes on your roster with draft picks, cheaper talent. And I believe Howell's a guy that he can come in, be a part of that pass rush rotation from day one, and really help Seattle continue their reign of dominance in the NFC.
Yeah, Seattle, last time they won the Super Bowl, slowly but surely, that's when we started seeing the decline. It's hard. When you win the Super Bowl, people want Super Bowl players on their team and they're going to pay high money. We started seeing that a little bit. Kobe Bryant is now in Chicago. I forgot what's my other man's name, but there's a couple guys that are no longer on the team on that defense. So that's pieces. Kenneth Walker, the MVP, is now in Kansas City.
Well,
So
I
like you
think
start to
Tariq
lose
Woolen went to
pieces.
Philly.
Yeah, he went to that's where it was. He went to Philly. So and you see a couple of your guys go, you've got to find a way to replace them and keep things rolling. That's what Kansas City here was able to do all those years that they were winning Super Bowls, and Seattle somehow has to find a way to do just that. So there it is. James Brown's first round mock. James as always great details, great information there. And before we get off of this bad boy, we always like to do our sleepers. And so first, I want to give your offensive sleeper here. This young man from Indiana. Good luck saying that name, sir. I'm waiting to hear you say this.
Oh no, this one I got. So this is Riley Nowakowski, tight end from
Okay, okay,
Indiana.
okay.
Again, I like him because I believe while he's listed as a tight end, he has some positional flexibility where he could be a tight end or he could be a fullback for you in today's offense. He's a pass catcher. He's a great pass catcher. He can help set the edge when he is playing on the line at tackle. But also, we saw in Indiana where they used him in the backfield and they had plays drawn up for him as a running back or as a fullback where he's actually scored touchdowns and made plays. So I believe due to that positional versatility, in the right offensive scheme, the right offensive system, he could really thrive, really flourish. I think as of right now, he's maybe sixth, seventh round projected pick. But if you can think of a running back kind of like a Kyle Juszczyk, a guy where, yes, he's listed as a fullback, but he does so much for the 49ers and their offense, I believe Nowakowski could be that type of impact player for an offense in the league here.
Yeah, I mean, look, Indiana came out there this year, shocked the world a little bit. We knew they were good. We didn't know they were in the national championship, but they were able to do that, go 16-0. A lot of talent on this team, a lot of former JMU Dukes. So the Indiana Dukes did a really good job, including the head coach, did a really good job of going out there. So some people say it feels like Virginia got a championship in some form or fashion, seeing all those former JMU Dukes get in there. And on a lot of those players were division or the B. The FBS level. They weren't even on the bad boy level. So it's just a fun thing to see. So shout out to Indiana on such a great season. And this is the sleeper pick we'll be all waiting for to see where he ends up. And then we head to your defensive sleeper pick. And once again, have fun. You said you were confident in that last name, and we were working on this pre-show. So let's see what you got.
So for my defensive sleeper, I have safety Xavier Wampa out of Iowa. Again, this is a safety where he has a prototypical build, 6'2", about 210 pounds, and he can cover wide receivers. He can cover running backs out of the backfield. He can cover tight ends. I feel for Wampa, it's all going to be about defensive scheme and fit. Can he get into a system where the coach can develop defensive talent? If he can go to a place like a Seattle and maybe pair with Nick Eamon-Warwick, that safety combo potentially, if he could go to a place maybe like Kansas City and work his way up, or Baltimore, a lot of these places where, you have defensive staff, defensive guys in place to really help develop these players. I think he's a guy where, again, he may be a late projected pick at sixth, seventh round, but he has value. And we've seen Iowa's been able to turn out some defensive backs here. Riley Moss, cornerback / safety for the Broncos, Cooper DeJean, nickelback for the Eagles. So he has some NFL pedigree due to where he went to school, and Iowa, a school that's more so for their defense than their offense. I believe Wampa's a guy where he can kind of continue that Hawkeye tradition of being a great DB at the next level.
I feel like every year we get somebody from Iowa that's just a stud. Like it may just be one. But every year, I feel like there's always one guy from Iowa that just comes in the league,
Somewhere along that defense.
yeah, somewhere along that defense and does a really good job. I think one year they had Noah Fant offensively, uh,
Noah
but
Fant. Well,
they've
really on
always
both
had one.
sides, trenches
Yeah,
and defensive
yep,
players.
yep. They've
Tristan
had guys.
Wirfs,
Hmm.
Tristan Wirfs, Noah Fant, Jack Campbell, linebacker for the Lions. You have, like we said, Cooper DeJean.
What's
You
my man that went
have
to Buffalo? There's a guy that went to Buffalo. Oh my
hmm,
goodness, he was on the D line. Oh my god, the guy that went to Buffalo on the D line a couple years ago.
AJ Epinesa.
There
Is
you
it AJ
go.
Epinesa?
Yeah, Vanessa. Yeah. So every year they've got a guy. They're going to have one guy that shines up in the league. They may not be a superstar, but they're going to be productive. So this could be your guy right here. All right, James. There it is. James, before we run away, what are your thoughts in your draft? What are you liking overall on how this thing played out?
So again, I feel like this year with the draft, it could go so many different ways. We're starting to hear buzz now about teams that are looking to move up, move down, because a lot of teams I may believe may be coveting assets for next year's draft, where it's believed to be a little bit more quarterback heavy. So while we may not see a lot of quarterbacks going round one on next Thursday night, I believe it will be exciting. I believe we will see a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving pieces. And again, even with my mock now, just going back, looking over it, there's a lot of different teams where, depending on how the boards fall, I believe they could do some different things. I believe that there's a lot of teams where there was another guy I really liked that, I could have slid in for one of their spots, but, decided to switch it up a little bit. So really this year, it's a multitude of ways the draft could go. The only two picks I would say I know for sure, are going down the way I picked it is one and two. We're gonna
Yeah.
see Mendoza go one, and then we're gonna see the Jets. We're gonna see the Jets jet and take Arvell Reese at two.
Even after he
For the
said
good,
that, I
for the
don't.
good or for the bad, we're gonna see it.
Just don't pick the guy that don't want to be there. I don't that unless he convinced him since he said this out loud. I just don't know if this is the move you make, New York. You can't go quarterback here because that's insane work. You just gonna have to ride with Gino, and you got Gino and because Fields is in Kansas City, which is a great move for
Mm-hmm.
him. Going to go learn under Andy Reid sounds beautiful. Could be the resurgence he needs. I know we've been saying that for years, but he's been with defensive coaches his entire career. He was in Chicago, defensive coach. He was at Tomlin, defensive coach. He was with McDermott. No, he wasn't with McDermott.
No,
Um
Aaron Glenn.
Aaron Glenn, my fault.
Aaron
He probably
Glenn.
wish he was with McDermott. But it's just one of those things, But McDermott ain't got no job right now, so that's being said. But it's always been a defensive guy. But now he's got Andy Reid, and you're learning behind arguably this goat's generation. And so it's going to be a really good situation for Justin Fields. But Geno Smith back in New York did not have that on my bingo card. Did not have that on
No,
my
I don't
bingo
think
card.
anybody did. I don't think
Didn't have
anybody had Gino going back, but I would say if Ty Simpson does go in round one, the GM that makes that move will be fired in 3 seasons.
but I feel like that's also so if it happens, it's one of those teams that's got two picks. So like the Rams per se, because you got to maybe you draft them to develop behind Stafford. The Jets have two, maybe. I don't see the Cowboys doing it. The Browns don't need them. So it to me, if it's going to be one, it's either the Rams or the Jets that make that leap because you got two. I don't give up my first round pick if I don't have two picks to make that move because I think he's more of a second round guy at this point, unless somebody jumps back in late to try to grab him. You know how they like to do at the end of the first round. So I guess we'll see. I
I
guess
mean,
we'll
we'll
see.
definitely see, man. I think, again, if Simpson does go first round, it should definitely be later. But like I said, I feel like if a team jumps up to trade into the first round, early first round to take Ty Simpson, that GM's gonna be fired in 2 to 3 seasons, and
Don't do it.
that whole franchise is gonna be set back for about another 5 to 10 years. Because while I believe he's a good talent, he's not a first round talent. I know a lot of teams are QB happy, or hey, we got to find a quarterback. We need a quarterback. I don't believe you should sell the farm for Ty Simpson. I
Nah,
mean, we
man.
haven't seen who was the last Alabama quarterback that truly came into the league and starred. What Ken Stabler?
I mean, technically Hurts, but he was in Oklahoma too, so it's
Technically,
like
but
technically,
I think it was more so because of Oklahoma. He's a quarterback that he is now, more
right,
so than
right.
Alabama.
And then Tua's gonna get a shot,
Tua, Tua
you
got a
know.
shot, and then he paid him too much, and now he's in Atlanta to see if Michael Penix can be as good as Tua Tagovailoa. Eh, we'll
I
see how
know,
that one
man. I'm
goes.
sorry, man. I'm sorry. I know it's tough, but I mean, there's so much talent on that offense. It's unfair to see. You see, it's hard when you see the talent there, and you say to yourself, "God, we've got talent. Why is this going the way it's going?" So hopefully, prayerfully, for the Falcons fans out there, including yourself, Stefanski and the guys can figure it out. I mean, that's all you can hope for in a division that you never know what you're going to get every year. So there's a chance in that division.
Definitely, man. There's a chance. I like the moves. again, for us, it's just going to be consistent quarterback play. Can we find a quarterback who can consistently play well
Right.
week in and week out? If we can find that, there's enough talent around that position in Atlanta to carry this team.
Yeah, if you
Just
can
got to
get
find
Tua
a quarterback that's consistent enough.
if
Whether
you
it
can
be
get
Tua, whether it
yeah,
be Penix, consistency is going to be
somebody.
what
Somebody.
somebody's got to come in and consistently play this year in Atlanta.
It's so crazy. All I know is if you can get Tua from a couple years ago, you might be all right. Non-injury, going to work Tua, then you might be all right.
2023 Tua, yeah.
Yeah, if you can get 2023 Tua in there somewhere, maybe, just maybe. All right, everybody. Once again, thank y'all all for tuning in. And I know you're probably saying, when is Legacy on Fire? Me and James been talking. We're going to figure this thing out here. The goal, ladies and gentlemen, is to bring it back after the draft. So, and your boy gets back from Family Feud. So that's a whole nother story for everybody out there. But that's the plan. We're going to bring it back here soon to try to get talk some off season, get into all that stuff. So once again, everybody, thank y'all all for tuning in. Any last thing you got to say, James, before we go?
Hey man, glad to be back. Can't wait for the draft next week. Always an exciting time of year to see how these things fall out, who's going to rise, who's going to fall, and see what the chatter is going to be about this year.
Well, we shall see next week. So make sure y'all tune in. It's going to be on ESPN, NFL Network. They cousins now, so I'm interested to see how that works. But make sure you check in and all that. That's where the draft will be going on for 3 days. I'm Darrell Owens. That's James Brown, LegacyMaker Sports Network. We'll see you all next time.
One. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof.